والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, tonight we will be commemorating and starting our 3-night commemoration, honoring the Shahada anniversary of our first Imam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salatu wassalam. And since last night, we had continued going through the tafsir of Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Tawheed, we thought that it might be beneficial to share some of the teachings and the connection and how Imam Ali alayhi salam, how he has taught us and what he has informed us, the Muslims and followers of Ahlul Bayt, about the concept of Tawheed. You know, a lot of us, we take the idea of Tawheed for granted. Right? Tawheed is, in a lot of our minds, it's simple. Tawheed means Allah is one, which means He's not 2 or 1,000 or 1,000,000. There's only one of Him, and that's it, I'm done. It's something that is so simple, we end up teaching it to kids at a very young age, right? Getting them to repeat in whatever language that, you know, Allah is one. All right, after we get them to repeat other things about our aqidah. And that's usually where we stop. We don't really go beyond that, right? We tell them that, okay, just make sure you're not worshiping more than one Allah. There's only one Allah, and that is it. But Tawheed is a lot more than that. And there's a lot of different dimensions to it, right? And this has been addressed in many of our riwayat. It's been expounded upon over there, and especially in the words of Mawla Ali alayhi salam. One famous place, for example, in this very short line, where he says, "At-Tawheed hayatun nafs," that Tawheed is the lifeblood of our soul, right? It's what gives us our sort of energy and reason to exist. Now, it may seem a bit strange, right? Is this, allegorical, metaphorical? Like, how can I say that Tawheed is what is giving me all this energy in life? Usually, we spend our time either connecting more with the Quran or more with the Fada'il of the Ahlul Bayt, something like that. For somebody to say that Tawheed is what gives me life, I mean, most of us, being honest, we're like, no, I mean, it's a part of my Aqidah, sure, but the things I focus on are the Quran and Ahlul Bayt, to be honest. I don't deny Tawheed, obviously, but I'm not going to spend a lot of energy onto it. But for Imam Ali alayhi salam and the other Ma'asumeen alayhi salam to mention something about Tawheed. So over here, Imam Ali is saying that Tawheed is, again, the hayat, the life of our nafs. In other riwayat, the Ahlul Bayt have said that Tawheed is either half of your life, it is your life, or it's half of your soul. There's many riwayat which talk about how important it is. But if we're being honest, how can something which literally just means believe in Allah being one and not more than one, how can that have so much importance? It's something there, it's simple, and maybe we understand it historically. Okay, if we were around mushrikeen, if we were around idol worshippers, or people who worship more than one God and were confused about that, okay, fine, we could understand that, where Tawheed in that sense makes sense, and how it has to be emphasized. But that's not really the case anymore. Right, so maybe this applied back then, maybe there's some historical reason, but how much really can it matter for us now? Well, if we are going to assume, as we should assume, that these teachings in the Quran and riwayat are timeless, they're eternal, they're not bound by what happened 1400 years ago in Arabia, then if the Quran is emphasizing Tawheed, if the Quran is condemning shirk over and over again, if the Ahlul Bayt are pushing even their own Shia to understand Tawheed at a deeper level. If we have places over and over again, as inshallah we'll mention, in Nahj al-Balagha and other places, where it's basically told to us that if we don't have Tawheed, we have no deen at all. How can something that's emphasized so much, given so much importance, be limited to just being God is one and then we're done? It has to be something beyond that. Especially if we take into consideration the various titles that have been assigned or that we assign to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, right? Amir al-Mu'mineen being one, Abu Turab, right? Many titles that he has. We also, for example, lovingly refer to him as Mawla al-Muwahhideen, right? He's the master of the Muwahhideen. Muwahhid, meaning what? Somebody who believes in Tawheed. Now, how much does that title really make sense? The Mawla, the master of those who are Muwahhideen. Are Muslims the only people who believe in one Allah or one God? No. Even if we were to say that a true Muwahhid is a Muslim, are we saying that Amir al-Mu'mineen is also the Mawla of the Ahlul Sunnah? No, they clearly don't believe him to be the case. So how can he be the Mawla of monotheists, the people who believe in one God? He's not the Mawla, and the Sunnis don't accept him as a Mawla in the way that we do. Obviously, other people who believe in one God, they don't accept him as a master either, or Mawla. So how can this title have been attached to him? The only way that these titles and these riwayat and these ayat of Quran, all of this can actually make sense is if there's a lot, not just a little bit, but a lot of things about Tawheed that we have been missing. Beyond that, we can talk about this even more. In Nahj al-Balagha, right, the very, very famous sermon that Imam Ali, or at least Sharif al-Radi, begins right in the beginning, because obviously this is not, some people are confused, sometimes they think that it's Imam Ali who put this book together himself. It's not, it's Sharif al-Radi, much later, who took various sayings which he believed were the most beautiful and poetic ones, and he put his own order to them, basically, right? So they're not in any historical order, anything like that. But still, it seems interesting that the very first khutbah that's laid out by Sharif al-Radi, there, as we go into the second paragraph, what does Mawla Ali say? أول الدين معرفته, right? That the primary, the beginning, the start of the deen is what? What's the foremost in religion? It's ma'rifah of Allah, which is real tawheed, right? Not wilaya, not nubuwa, not the Quran, not ma'ad. It's ma'rifat of Allah, right? وَكَمَالُ مَعْرِفَتِهِ التَّصْدِيقُ بِهِ, right? And that kamal, the perfection in this ma'rifah of him is what? Is doing tasdeeq bih. Tasdeeq meaning not just saying that, okay, I know that you're there, and whatever you say Allah is true. But tasdeeq is much better, is much more deeper than that. It's much higher than that. Tasdeeq is to truly certify and testify in whatever reality Allah happens to be, which is, again, more than him just being some one entity. It's something much more deeper than that. وَكَمَالُ تَصْدِيقُ بِي تَوْحِيدُهُ. And that kamal, the perfection of that tasdeeq, of testifying and believing in the truth of Allah, is what? Is his tawheed. Right? Is that it? Is that what we're limiting to? If tawheed just means he's one, all of these wonderful terms in Nahj al-Balagha just say, yeah, God is one. Next and we're done. No, it's got to be something more than that, right? وَكَمَالُ تَوْحِيدِهِ الْإِخْلَاص لَهُ, right? The perfection of tawheed and understanding of tawheed is ikhlas, having this purity in our own self and towards Allah as well. If this is something that Imam Ali alayhi salam is mentioning to the Muslims in general, and obviously the Shias who were there at that time must have been hearing this, that must have meant that the Muslims there, even at that time who were believing in quote-unquote one God, didn't get it. They missed something about tawheed. And then by extension, there's something about tawheed that you and I are missing as well. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So if Allah provides us tawfiq, we'll try tonight, and if we need time in the next 2 nights, to describe a bit more of how tawheed has been described in His words. If it's not enough that, just to emphasize the point of how much individuals, Muslims, didn't understand the importance, the true importance of tawheed. There's a very famous hadith and a story, right, that took place in the Battle of Jamal. So one of the companions, he narrates this, right? And he says, Inna Aliyan alayhi salam kana fi waq'at al-Jamal. So he's describing what happened when Imam Ali alayhi salam was in Jamal. He says, فَأَتَاهُ الرَّجُلُ فَقَالَ. So somebody comes to him. In other riwayat, it says it was an A'rab, right? It was one of the Bedouins. So he comes to him. And this person says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, sorry, I'm skipping some lines over here. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sorry. So yes. So the Bedouin comes to Amir al-Mu'mineen in Jamal and he says, "Ataqulu inna Allah wahid." So in the middle of the battle going on, the middle of the battle of Jamal, somebody comes, this Bedouin comes, and again, when we're thinking about Bedouin, if we're putting it in kind of modern day terms, think about like a redneck, right? This is a person that you think is dumb, they're foolish, they're poor, you don't think much of them. So this random person comes in the middle of battle to Imam Ali alayhi salam. People are fighting. Imam Ali is trying to figure out strategies. He says, "Are you really saying that Allah is one?" So what happens is the people who were, the other generals and stuff who were around Amir al-Mu'mineen, they hear this random Bedouin coming and asking this, what they are thinking is a silly question. So they literally, the way that it's phrased in the riwayah is, فَحَمَلَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهِ. Literally, it's like they jumped on him, they attacked him. Not literally, like they didn't punch him, but they were like on his case, like, what's wrong with you, right? And they said to him, "Ya Arabi, أَمَا تَرَى مَا فِيهِ أَمِيرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مِنْ تُقَسِّمُ الْقَلْبِ." It's like, don't you see how Amir al-Mu'mineen, how his heart is divided right now? Meaning his attention is not here to talk to you. He's not here to answer your foolish questions. He's in the middle of battle. There's strategies he has to figure out. He has to know when to retreat, when to do this, send his commands. He's not here to answer questions like this. What's wrong with you? فَقَالَ أَمِيرُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامُ. Then Imam Ali alayhi salam, he tells those people who are around him, دَعُوهُ. Leave him alone. Just don't jump on him like this. Don't attack him like that. فَإِنَّ الَّذِي يُرِيدُهُ الْأَعْرَابِ هُوَ الَّذِي نُرِيدُهُ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ. He says, what this Bedouin is looking for, what he's searching for, what he intends, is the very same thing that we intend and that we're searching for in this battle as well too. In other words, in other riwayat, the phrasing is that this whole battle is for the sake of tawheed, and that's exactly what he is asking about. And then the hadith goes on. I'm not going to go through the whole hadith, but it's a longer hadith where Imam Ali begins giving, a long answer to this Bedouin about the nature of tawheed. In the middle of battle, people are dying in front of him, and he stops the middle of the battle so he can answer this question. Now, the other part, which I was mentioning before, is when someone else sees that Imam Ali in the middle of battles answering this question, right, going on. And it's not just a simple like, okay, yes, Allah is one, and then he went back to his thing. He went on and on and on. There's like at least a page worth of answers that Imam Ali alayhi salam is giving to this Bedouin. So someone else, one of the other soldiers, right, he comes and he says, "Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, أتقاتل وأنت تحدثون عن التوحيد?" He says, "Are you fighting and teaching us tawheed at the same time?" It's like you're engaging in war and you're teaching us about tawheed. Like he's trying to call out Amir al-Mu'mineen. Like, what are you doing? Now again, this is somebody who obviously doesn't have enough ma'rifah of Imam Ali himself, right? His understanding was very, very low over there, right? So Imam Ali says, "Waylak," right? Like, woe upon you. إِنَّمَا أَقَاتِلُهُمْ وَأَقَاتِلُهُمْ عَلَى التَّوْحِيدِ. And we are fighting for the sake of tawheed. This is why I am fighting. And of course, this person didn't understand this concept of tawheed as well. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So there's many instances in battles where the Imam is mentioning these finer points about tawheed and he's discussing all these things. So what we want to again try to describe and discuss inshallah is all of this information about tawheed. Where are we supposed to be focusing on? What exactly do you and I need to understand? First and foremost, we have to remember and recognize, as a source of pride, of course, as Muslimin, that we are the only religion. We are the only followers. Islam is the only religion which has an essential focus on Allah and God. No other religion really has that same focus, right? Think about even the names of other religions, right? So Judaism, right, is Judaism either is because of the tribe of Judah or the land of Judea. There's different reasons why people believe that it was named Judaism, but it's not named after God, right? If we're talking about Hinduism, right, Hind, it's about the area, right? It's again geographical. Other religions, Buddhism, Christianity. Now again, Christians will believe that Jesus is God, but still the focus is not on the Father, God, it's about the Son, God. So it's Christianity. It's about a person. Buddhism, same thing, it's about an individual. We have the only religion in our very name, and we call ourselves through that name too, that we are talking about our submission to God. Islam meaning submission, and a Muslim meaning one who submits. I've heard sometimes people kind of mess this up when, usually a non-Muslim might ask them, what does Islam mean? I hear people say, oh, Islam means peace. which is sometimes the default answer everybody gives in this day and age because we don't want to seem like we're angry terrorists all the time. So every answer we have to give has to be about peace and tolerance. What does Islam mean? It means peace. What is a Muslim? It's somebody who loves peace. You can't just say every word in Islam means peace. That's not how it works, right? There's a difference between submission and peace. Salam, that means peace, sure. So salam means peace. That's the only word, right? And sukoon, fine. You want to use that word too, you can do that as well. But we have to stop, placating to other individuals and filtering our own deen for the sake of other people, right? We should be proud to say, yes, we believe in Allah. We have a high level of understanding of Him, and we submit to Him because He's the only objective truth that exists. And everything else is subjective. Allah's the only objective truth. In a realm, in a world where people don't know what is right and wrong, we, alhamdulillah, are happy to say, yes, we obey an objective source of truth, which we call Allah. And there's nothing wrong with saying the word submit, or using the word abd and slave. There's nothing wrong with these kind of words. If others don't understand it, it's because of their own ego issues. It's not anything from us that we have to run away from. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Even the simple versions of Tawheed that you and I might understand and acknowledge that Allah exists, He's only one of them. Even at that superficial level, how much of that can we actually put into words? We can explain peace very easily to others, non-Muslims and things like that. But what happens when they actually ask us pressing questions about Allah, about Tawheed, right? If somebody were to ask you, what is the difference between you and your oneness or your Tawheed of God versus other religions which also believe in one God? Now, maybe you and I can say, okay, we're different than Christians that believe in the Trinity. Okay, that's an obvious one. But if they say, all right, well, what about Jews? What is the difference between you and Jews in terms of one God? How many of you can actually provide an answer that distinguishes our understanding of God versus what a Jewish person would think about God? Right? Or let's say that you come across a Christian who's not a Trinitarian. They don't believe in the whole 3-in-1 triple changer transformer God. They don't believe in that. They just believe, and there are some sects that only believe that Allah is one. There is no Trinity. There is no Father, Son, Holy Ghost. There are a few minority sects who are like that. What's going to be the difference between us and them? What kind of answer do we give there? Do we have enough knowledge about that? Or even if, let's say, forget that, an atheist comes or an agnostic comes. They say, okay, tell me about your God. How do you know He even exists? Can you even prove Him to me in the first place? What kind of answers do we give there? A lot of us, the reason we believe in Allah, that we have our itminan or our yaqeen, is because we've been taught from a young age. Right? That's pretty much it. We've been taught, we're kind of force-fed everything, and that's where our belief systems come from. And we might say that, yeah, I have this belief, or I feel the divine presence of God in my life, and when I connect with God, it creates this profound change, which are not wrong answers necessarily. A person can be transformed like that, and they can feel the presence of Allah and God, and that can be the reason, that's okay. But when somebody is challenging us, that doesn't work anymore, right? If I'm saying that, yeah, I believe in God because I prayed to Him, and I had the connection, and He took care of my affairs. I was sick, I prayed, He healed it. That's great. What happens when a Christian says that, yeah, I was sick too, I had a deadly fatal disease, and then I prayed to Jesus, and I got healed? Or some Buddhist says that, yeah, we prayed to Buddha and we got healed, right? Or an atheist says, as they jokingly say, I prayed to a milk jug and I got healed. Is that enough? Well, it doesn't work, right? So there's something else that's beyond that. Now, again, we're not all meant to be philosophers and sit there and offer these proofs, but sometimes what happens is that when we're unable to meet these modern day challenges, when somebody comes and pokes at us, either we get really, really defensive, right? We start attacking them back, right? We start to say very inappropriate things, ad hominem attacks and things like that, which are uncalled for as Muslims, but we don't know what else to say. Or we just stay silent and say, I just don't know. And then it makes us feel bad. I wish I had an answer, but I don't have an answer. I wish I could tell my coworker or my colleague or my classmate that, this is why Allah exists, but I can't do it. And now what happens is I look foolish, and in a sense, I make other Muslims and Islam as a whole, I make them look foolish too. Most of you know that there's this character, Bill Maher, right? I don't know, he's not I'll leave away the ad hominem attacks for now. But, he had this movie a long time ago, this documentary, right? Religulous. And he went around and interviewed religious people, right? Muslims, Christians, everybody. And he asked them basic questions. And again, obviously, movies like that in Hollywood, there's always agenda, it's propaganda, all that is there, without a doubt. And he always asks selective questions and he pushes people, that's there. But still, The fact that he can find so many individuals, even Muslims as well, even people who have gone to some sort of seminary and studied, and they can't offer simple responses to questions. It's an issue. It's a problem. It makes everybody who's religious, it makes us look bad. I mean, don't we feel that way too when we see someone else who's religious on any of these TV programs or being interviewed and they give a response about religion that makes us look bad? We feel bad then too. Like, oh, what kind of response was that? Now I feel bad about this religion. So our ability to respond can also affect our iman as well too. Let me share you a story that took place not in modern times. This took place during the time of the sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. So just like in these times, although it's much more prevalent now, back then, during the time of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi wassalam, there were also atheists, right? There were atheist philosophers and things like that. They had their own students, right? It existed. They obviously weren't as prevalent. They weren't the majority. Nowadays, yes, atheism is growing, but it still was there at that point too. So in one report, it says that one of the famous companions of the sixth Imam, Mufaddal ibn Umar, I'm sure many of you have heard before, he was sitting in Masjid al-Nabi, right? Just doing a ziyarah, offering salah, praying, a'mal, whatever. At that time, two individuals come into Masjid al-Nabi and they sit within earshot of him. So not next to him, but close enough where he could hear their conversation. And one of these individuals is Ibn Ali Auja. And he was the head of the atheists of that time, in that era. And so he had one of his students with him. So he sat with his students. He sat with his student, again, just earshot of Mufaddal ibn Umar. And he begins speaking, right? He's talking to his student. And at that time, the adhan was going off, right? Somebody was reciting the adhan. So this atheist, Ibn Ali Auja, is saying, look at this, man. He said, you see this guy Muhammad, the kind of games he has played? His name is being recited constantly. They're praising this false god. Look at how society has transformed because of the lies of this one guy who came, right, a little while ago. Look at how everything has changed and now his name is being chanted in the streets constantly. So he's saying all this to his student. They're kind of all making fun and laughing, this and that. And then Mufaddal is there. He's trying to focus on his own a'mal, his own du'as, his ibadah. But obviously his ears catching what they're saying. And he's getting upset. Every single line he hears, he's getting red and red. Just like you and I, if we had heard somebody like that, we would get upset too, right? So he's getting madder and madder up until a point he couldn't take it anymore. He gets up, he goes towards them. He's like, oh, you kafirs, what's wrong with you? He begins screaming at them, yelling at them. Can't you see how obvious it is to believe in Allah and you should believe that He's one? And how could your aql not work? Just insulting them, saying that something's wrong with them, going on and on. So the atheist, Ibn Ali Auja, is just smiling. And he's like, who are you? He's like, hold on. Are you somebody who claims to be a student of Ja'far? Right? Ja'far ibn Muhammad? I mean, the sixth Imam. And Mufaddal's like, yeah, I am one of his students. He's like, I've sat with your teacher, and he's never talked to me like this. It's like whenever I go to him, I sit down with him, he greets me in a very humble way. He lets me say everything that's on my mind fully. He doesn't interrupt me. When I'm done, he gives me things to think about. He responds to me in an academic and a civil way. It's like, that's how your teacher deals with me. He says, I don't know about you, but I think you need to go back to your teacher and learn something because I don't think you've learned anything. So Mufaddal is like, oh, great. He got put into his place. And then the rest of the story is Mufaddal does go back to the sixth Imam and he tells him, he relays to him what happened and he says everything. And there's a longer narration about how there's a conversation between the sixth Imam and Mufaddal and how he tells him certain ways to prove Allah's existence and things like that. That's not our concern. Our concern is this idea, is that just like Mufaddal, sometimes we get caught in this situation too, where we're trying to, we think, engage in a friendly debate or a discussion with somebody, and then our anger flares up really quick. We start resorting to attacks, name calling, right? That usually means that we probably shouldn't have engaged in the debate in the first place. If we can't have the akhlaq to engage with somebody, then just don't engage. Disengage. Just keep away. It's not for you. Right? To engage with people who are vicious, who are vile, or even people who are intellectually superior to us, and there's probably a lot of them out there, even atheists and agnostics, people of other faiths, don't just assume everybody out there is going to be dumber than us. They might not be. And when that happens and we're put in a corner, it's very, very likely that we might snap and then make our deen, our imams, our prophets, right? And our whole essential being look terrible. And a lot of us, again, we may not have the knowledge too. Some people feel like, we're all ambassadors for Islam. No, not really. I've heard this term a lot, like everybody's an ambassador to Islam, right? If you're wearing the hijab, you're an ambassador. Well, yes and no. Just because you might be seen outwardly as a Muslim doesn't mean you have to go and literally be an ambassador. You don't have to go and argue with every single person you see, whether in person, which probably doesn't happen too much anymore, or the more prominent version, which is online. Anytime somebody sees anything, comment section, whatever, people have to just jump and attack. Is there really any benefit? How often have you ever seen in any sort of comment thread or anything like that, where people are going viciously back and forth, and a person with quote unquote good intentions is trying to correct somebody, like, oh, this person's being nasty to Shias, I'm gonna go respond to them. This person is, this Zionist is saying XYZ, I'm gonna go respond to them. Has anybody ever changed their mind from a comment section? Like, has that ever happened? No. So what is it doing? It's our own anger, our own nafs, our own egos coming out in this stuff. Usually, 9 times out of 10, it's much better that we're like, look, this is probably not gonna solve anything. It's just gonna make me feel worse. It's gonna occupy my mind. Why am I gonna bother? Right? I even made this mistake when I was younger too. I used to engage with Wahhabi Salafi types online, and I just realized that there was no point. It just occupied my mind and soul too much. I'd be, when I'd be done talking to them, I'd just be angry. And I'd be thinking of what are some other responses that I could think about. Well, that shouldn't be wasting my day and thinking about responses, how I'm gonna get them back, and what's the snappiest comeback. What a waste of time. But sometimes we end up doing things like that, right? So if we are going to engage with other people, check ourselves in 2 different ways. Number 1, do I have the knowledge, right? Do I actually have enough ilm and the ability to engage in a discussion? If I don't, then it's okay. Salam, no problem. Let me refer to an alim or a scholar or an expert in the field, and they can talk to you about it because I don't know. You have a question, that's great, but I can't answer it for you, right? Or I'll go and do the research and maybe I'll come back, right? But I'm not just going to answer just because you happen to be asking the question. And maybe I do have the knowledge. Maybe I have studied. I've listened to lectures. I've read books. Wonderful, alhamdulillah. Allah reward us, it's good. But I should be a bit more self-aware and realize maybe my akhlaq is not good enough for a discussion or debate. I know myself well enough that if somebody uses some trigger word, I'm going to pounce on them. I'm going to jump on them. And some of us, I'll tell you myself personally, I've had to learn that certain discussions, certain topics, certain areas, certain personality types, if I hear certain things, I realize, I'm starting to flare up a little bit. I'm getting a little fiery. I better step back, right? Because this is not going to help me. I'm not going to be saving and doing anything for the cause of Islam. So let me just pull out of this because it's not going to help anybody anywhere. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll continue on, going a bit deeper into this concept of Tawheed. Specifically, we want to ask the question about this meaning of Tawheed. So I'll ask the question now, and this is something you can all think about, inshallah, and then we'll try to describe it tomorrow night. How do you translate the word Tawheed? What's the translation? Monotheism, right? Oneness, monotheism. That's typically the way we translate it, right? Do you think that monotheism, oneness, really is describing the depth of this concept of Tawheed? Obviously, I wouldn't be asking the question if the answer was yes, right? It's a loaded question. So there's something, even within the word, the way that the Arabic is phrased, the way the Arabic is put, which is informing us and showing us that there's something deeper about Tawheed. It's not just about monotheism or oneness. Again, it's not just about God is one and that's it, I'm done. There's something that's deeper behind it, which even lies within the Arabic itself, which inshallah we'll try to unlock and explain tomorrow night. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Let's spend a few minutes just honoring one of the last final nights of our Mawla Ali. As we honor Mawla al-Muwahhideen, and we think about one of his final iftars on a night like this. They say that Imam Ali alayhi salam, he loved to go and was constantly asked and invited by his children to come and spend time at their house, to eat dinner, to come for iftar. So he would go and switch around their houses, right, to do justice to all of them. And it just so happens that, according to our historical reports, on the night like this, on the 19th of Ramadan, it was the honor of Kulthum, his beloved daughter, that she had invited him to come to her house for iftar, and he began to, after his salah, make his way towards her house for iftar. when he gets to her home after his salah, she had already put out some food for her, for her father. The riwayat say that there was some bread, there was some salt, and there was some milk. The narrations say that Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he comes there, he tells his daughter, he says, Ya bunayya, ya Kulthum. He says, you know me. I'm not someone to indulge. Look how Imam Ali is saying that 3 types of food to him is indulgence. He says, I don't do israf, I don't engage in food like this. He says, you have to take away one of these things, right? I can't eat all 3 of these things. And the riwayat say that he had this old, dry, stale bread with salt. This is how he broke his fast. It's something for you and I to reflect on as we are closer to the end of the month of Ramadan. As we reflect, we always tell ourselves that we want to live like Ali, right? Live like Ali, die like Hussein. How many of us actually live like this, eat like Ali, right? Are we eating like him, or are we eating like his enemies? Do we break our fast like him? Do we break our fast like his enemies? So remember that as we break our fast in the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. So after he has this old, stale, dry bread and salt, he then goes back into one of the rooms of Kulthum and begins to engage in more ibadah. And they say that Kulthum recognized that there was something off, there was something different about Imam Ali tonight, something different about her father. That he would go outside, he would look up at the stars, and she noticed that he was saying things. And she would go and see, he's saying that this night has been maw'ud, this has been promised to me. He would go back into the room, go back into his musalla and his janamaz and say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, repeating it over and over and over again. And Kulthum was worried about her father, right? But why this was happening. As he begins to leave, they say Kulthum had called Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein because she was worried about her father. She called them and said, why don't you accompany him to the masjid? Because he hasn't slept all night. He's just been saying, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un all night, and I'm worried about our father. Accompany him, something might happen to him, and I'm worried about him. And they say, as he was leaving the house of Kulthum, according to some reports, and even some poets, they say this, that as the Imam was leaving the house, the animals that were around began to make various types of sounds. And when Kulthum and the other children noticed this, they said, why are the animals doing this? Usually they're there and they're honoring you, but the way that they're sounding, it sounds as if they're in pain, if they're hurting somehow. And according to some, Imam Ali says that this is their noha for me. They are lamenting for me, they are crying for me because of what is going to happen to me. When Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, as they get worried about their father, they say, then let us accompany you to make sure that nothing happens. He says, no, this night I must travel alone. On my empty stomach, I go towards my Rabb alone. So Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein later joined Imam Ali at the masjid. As Imam Ali then goes to the masjid, when he gets there, he sees the individuals, these various individuals sleeping in the masjid. One of them is his killer, Abdurrahman ibn Muljam, la'anatullah alayh. As he begins waking up people one by one, he sees Ibn Muljam lying on his stomach, his sword dipped in poison under his stomach. He begins to tell Ibn Muljam to wake up. It's not good to sleep on your stomach. This is the way that Iblis sleeps, which maybe means that Imam Ali knew something else that may have happened on that night. Then, although every other time at a masjid, normally the one who leads salah, the imam, does not give the adhan, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, tonight I will give the adhan. This morning I give the adhan. And this Fajr time, Imam Ali himself gives the adhan and recites the adhan out loud, perhaps because he knew that this would be the last time he'd be able to recite the adhan while he was alive. Then he begins his prayer, Allahu Akbar. Everybody has lined up. They're following the Imam in Salah. Ibn Muljam has his sword hidden and ready to strike. When Imam Ali alayhi salam goes down into sujood, Ibn Muljam breaks through the ranks and breaks through the lines. He strikes the Imam Ali in sujood. Instead of the Imam crying out in pain, instead of the Imam screaming, he says, Fuztu wa Rabbil Ka'aba. I have succeeded by the Lord of the Ka'aba. ألا لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Ali. Ya Ali. Ya Ali. Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, 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 Ya Ali. Join me, brothers. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ya Ali. Though I know in this world I can't rely, I never thought I'd see the day when Ali died. Though I know on this world I can't rely, I never thought I'd see the day when Ali died. Our protector and our chief, so strong and wise, shoulders so broad on the prayer rug paralyzed. Our protector and our chief, so strong and wise, shoulders so broad on the prayer rug paralyzed. From this world you finally have your freedom, and the prophet, you're on your way to meet him. You've been praying to be rid of this nation. Their betrayals have caused you frustration. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. On those nights, how distant you became. You wouldn't eat a thing. On your lips were God's holy names. On those nights, how distant you became. You wouldn't eat a thing. On your lips were God's holy names. How many days are left in the month of Ramadan? Hassan and Hussein said 17, I will soon be gone. How many days are left in the month of Ramadan? Hassan and Hussein said 17, I will soon be gone. You grabbed your beard, it was white, we were weeping. From this world of yours I will be leaving. A wretched man will stain my beard and head. I desire him to live, but he wants me dead. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Show your love, brothers. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. On that night he acted differently. He went outside much, staring out into eternity. On that night he acted differently. He went outside much, staring out into eternity. Up at the sky he was looking and whispering, this is the night that he promised martyrdom to me. Up at the sky he was looking and whispering, this is the night that he promised martyrdom to me. We knew that things were bad, for Hassan was crying. There is no grief, my son, in dying. In this world, oh Ali, you're a traveler. But still Zainab, she's crying because you're leaving her. Ali, Ali, Ya. Hey, Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Fatima. Our biggest grief was that our father lonely died. He would have wished for Fatima to be there by his side. Our biggest grief was that our father lonely died. He would have wished for Fatima to be there by his side. To her grave 30 years ago he carried her. He's lived an empty life since the day he buried her. To her grave 30 years ago he carried her. He's lived an empty life since the day he buried her. You will meet
The prophet's daughter so soon. The call to prayer, it means you have to go soon. Seeing you in this world was a gift God gave. And if I see you in that world, then I know I'm saved. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. The final prayer and a meeting with Ali's Lord. Ibn Muljam came with a sharp and poisoned sword. He struck his head while bowing in prostration. Forever after that, justice left the Muslim nation. You met this world in a birth like no other, when the holy Kaaba opened for your mother. And you left this world in a state of worship, in prostration, prayer, fasting, and in hardship. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali. Ali, Ali, Ya Ali.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Yes, please. Can you turn that up? يا حبيبي يا حسين نور عيني يا حسين. يا حبيبي يا حسين نور عيني يا حسين. على هواك بارك الله بك.
يا حبيبي يا حسين.
You're good. You're good. Yeah.
عيني
Oh.
يا حسين. يا حبيبي يا حسين نور عيني يا حسين.
على هواك بارك الله بك. صوته للحق يعتلي، صوته للحق يعتلي، لا فتى إلا علي. صوته للحق يعتلي، لا فتى إلا علي. انت حبنا الأولي، انت حبنا الأولي. يا ولي ونعم الولي، يا ولي ونعم الولي. يا علي درب الله دربك يا علي، يا علي درب الله دربك يا علي. يا علي درب الله دربك يا علي،
يا علي درب الله دربك يا علي.
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي، يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي. يا علي
نموت على حبك يا علي.
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي.
علي نموت على حبك يا علي.
بس علي يبقى الأمير، بس علي يبقى الأمير، بس علي يبقى الأمير. غير حيدر ما يصير، غير حيدر ما يصير. بايعك حتى الضمير، بايعك حتى الضمير. انت الاول مو الاخير، انت الاول مو الاخير، انت الاول مو الاخير،
انت الاول مو الاخير.
يا علي اول نحسبك يا علي، يا علي اول نحسبك يا علي. يا علي اول نحسبك يا علي. يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي،
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي.
يا علي
نموت على حبك يا علي.
علي يا مثلك مثيل، علي يا مثلك مثيل. ما نعوفك مستحيل، ما نعوفك مستحيل. دمنا ويدمك يسيل، دمنا ويدمك يسيل، دمنا ويدمك يسيل.
دمك يسيل.
والله يا حامد دخيل، والله يا حامد دخيل. يا علي بالدم نكتبك يا علي،
يا علي بالدم نكتبك يا علي. يا علي بالدم نكتبك يا علي.
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي،
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي.
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي.
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي.
كل من يضد حيدره، كل من يضد حيدره خسر دنيا وآخرة. كل من يضد حيدره خسر دنيا وآخرة. وحق سبع القنطرة وحق سبع القنطرة وحق سبع القنطرة
وحق سبع القنطرة
يبقى حبك جوهرة يبقى حبك جوهرة يا علي خلينا قربك يا علي
يا علي خلينا قربك
بك يا علي يا علي خلينا قربك يا علي
يا علي خلينا قربك يا علي
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي والله يا طالع الباب والله يا قالع الباب والله يا قالع الباب نرخص وياك الرقاب نرخص وياك الرقاب باكر بيوم الحساب باكر بيوم الحساب شيعتك تنطي الجواب
شيعتك تنطي الجواب
شيعتك تنطي الجواب
شيعتك تنطي الجواب
يا علي ربك ينصبك يا علي
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 يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي
يا علي بحبك نذوب يا علي بحبك نذوب انت غفران الذنوب وانت غفران الذنوب لو يقطعون الدروب لو يقطعون الدروب مو عشقنا ما نتوب من عشقنا ما نتوب يا علي بزلمك وبحربك يا علي يا علي بزلمك وحربك يا علي يا علي بزلمك وحربك يا علي يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي
نحيي وياك ونموت نحيي وياك ونموت يبقى صوتك أعلى صوت يبقى صوتك أعلى صوت يبقى صوتك أعلى صوت
يبقى صوتك أعلى صوت
يا علي صاحب سكوت يا علي صاحب سكوت نجى يونس من الحوت يجى يونس من الحوت يا علي الشيعة تندبك يا علي يا علي الشيعة تندبك يا علي يا علي
يا علي
يا علي الشيعة تندبك يا علي يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي
يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي يا علي نموت على حبك يا علي
أحسن بارك الله بكم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
قصيدة الأخ إن شاء الله واويلاه لا تنعى يا جبريل يرحل علي بهالليل صلوا على محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
لا تنعى يا جبريل يرحل علي بهالليل لا تنعى يا جبريل يرحل علي بهالليل لا تنعى يا جبريل يرحل علي بهالليل واويلاه 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 لا تنعى يا جبريل يرحل علي بهالليل لا تنعى يا جبريل
يرحل علي بهالليل
واويلاه
وويلا وويلا وويلا
احنا ايتامه ويموتنا بغيابه وياه نتمنى تغطينا الترابه احنا ايتامه ويموتنا بغيابه وياه نتمنى تغطينا الترابه جينا يا جبريل وقفنا على بابه جينا يا جبريل وقفنا على بابه كنا نقرأ آية أبو حسين ومصابه كنا نقرأ آية أبو حسين ومصابه كل اليتامى تقول ميت علي معقول كل اليتامى تقول ميت علي معقول كل اليتامى تقول ميت علي معقول واويلا واويلا لا تنعى يا جبريل يرحل علي بهالليل لا تنعى يا جبريل يرحل علي بهالليل واويلا يوحي يا جبريل صوتك بالرزايا يوحي يا جبريل صوتك بالرزايا تهدمت والله أركان الهداية تهدمت والله أركان الهداية تهدمت والله أركان يعني ميت حيدر وهاي النهاية يعني ميت حيدر وهاي النهاية والله عجب السما ما تمطر دمايه والله عجب السما ما بغيبة علي الكرار افق السماء اندار بغيبة علي الكرار افق السماء اندار واويلا
وويلا وويلا وويلا
لا تنعى يا جبريل العلي بهالليل لا تنعى يا جبريل يرحل علي بهالليل واويلا واويلا دنيا مو دنيا ونحس الفجر مظلم والعزيز جنازته تجرح وتلجم شكثر من فراق ابونا اللي يألم ألف لعنة عليك تنزل يا ابن ملجم ألف لعنة عليك تنزل يا ابن ملجم ألف لعنة عليك تنزل يا ابن ملجم هذا الجرح ما يهون حيدر يموت شلون هذا الجرح ما يهون حيدر يموت شلون واويلا
وويلا وويلا وويلا
لا واويلا غربت شمس الولي والعلة علة والخليل يخلي بين أحبابه غلة والخليل يخلي بين أحبابه غلة ننتظر تطلع جنازة أبو الحملة ننتظر تطلع جنازة أبو الحملة نريد آخر مرة نشتم ونقبله نريد آخر مرة نشتم ونقبله من يطلع التابوت كنا نصيح بصوت من يطلع التابوت كنا نصيح بصوت واويلا 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 لطم صريح تهدمت والله أركان الهدى
تهدمت والله أركان الهدى
تهدمت والله أركان الهدى
تهدمت والله أركان الهدى
صاح العظيم الكان شايل لسمه دمت والله أركان الهدى صاح العظيم الكان شايل لسمه تهدمت والله
أركان الهدى
صاح اللي يخوف الموت يوم الموزمة تهدمت والله
أركان الهدى
من السماء تطيح دمعة فاطمة تهدمت والله أركان الهدى صوت الوحي بسماه ينعاه وحده تهدمت والله
أركان الهدى
صاحب السيف الدين ثبت رايته تهدمت والله
أركان الهدى
سيف الله بالمحراب طبره وهامته تهدمت والله
أركان الهدى
راحوا على الايتام بانت وحشته تهدمت والله
أركان الهدى
سيف الصنم يا حيف على الدين اعتدى
تهدمت والله أركان الهدى
تهدمت والله اركان الهدى تهدمت والله اركان الهدى
تهدمت والله
تهدمت والله اركان الهدى السلام عليك يا امير المؤمنين ورحمه الله وبركاته صلوات
We're going to start the Amal, inshallah. Oh, salam. After Amal, Amal, yes. We're going to start the Amal, inshallah. Bismillah. So we're going to start with 2 rakat prayers. Do you wanna- So we're going to start the Amal, 2 rakat. Please turn the lights on. Back. Inshallah, Majul, inshallah, all the Shabbat, thank you for the tonight. We start with 2 rakat salat. After each salat, after Hamd, 7 times Surah Tawheed. And after that, Astaghfirullah wa atubu alayh 70 times. So we start with 2 rakat salat, and then we will get the Qur'ans and open the Qur'an and do the Amal of Qur'an. So 2 rakats, in each rakat, after Hamd, 7 times Surah Tawheed, and then at the end, 70 times Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. این بهتره. این هم میخواین بس کنیم که
آها باشه.
شما بس کنیم.
Is it not working still? Is it that laptop still not working? Wash it, wash it. That's showing the reaction.
How do you pray this 2 rakats?
So, I'm going to put it up on the screen in a second. ببخشید زحمت دادم.
این لپتاپ کار ما رو خراب کرد.
این ریموت واسه چیز هستش؟
من درستش
ممنون. حاج خانم it's 2 rakats namaz. It's 2 rakats just like Fajr. Hamd, and then you do Surah Ikhlas 7 times each one. So it's Hamd, Ikhlas 7 times, both rakats. And then after done, do Astaghfirullah, Rabbi wa atubu ilayh 70 times. No, you don't have to do one to do. Once you're finished, just get up and just do it. Yeah, after you're finished. Yeah. Allah. Bismillah. Bismillah.